It is Y105, Dubuque's #1 hit music station. My name is Steve Pulaski, and my next guest is one you could call an NFL lifer, a Hall of Famer with more than 59 consecutive seasons as player and coach. He played for the Detroit Lions for 14 seasons and spent the next 45 coaching. He was the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals in the early 2000s and a defensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers from 2004 to 2014. His book, Legendary, chronicles the fateful 2008 Steelers season and his decorated coaching career. He is Coach Dick LeBeau. How are we today, Coach?
I'm great, Steve, and it's great to hear your voice.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Coach. What can people learn about Dick LeBeau and the NFL as a whole with your book, Legendary?
Well, the book's about our great defense of the season 2008 and the records that they set with the numbers that they put. And I when the season was occurring, I said, well, somebody ought to write a book about these guys one day, and little did I know then that I was going to stay active coaching till I was 80, so there was no book writing time in there. But when I finally retired and no one had written anything about that season, I said, well, I better do it myself then and maybe throw a few anecdotes about my career. It was didn't quite make 60 years, 59 years, consecutive years in the National Football League. And it's just a general replay of that 2008 season with those guys and the extraordinary numbers that they put up. I played in the early 60s, and they ran the football 67% of the time. But the statistics that the 2008 defense put up, I had to go all the way back to the 60s to find anything that equaled what they did. And that, to me, was extraordinary, and that was the motivation of the book. And generally speaking, it's just the story of a life in football.
That book, Legendary, available wherever you get your books. Do you still watch NFL games on Sundays, Coach? How active do you follow the seasons?
Let's see, I think there are games on Thursday and all day Sunday and then Monday. So those days are carefully booked away. I watch every single one of them. I'm reminded of when I was in high school, I was a lifeguard at a swimming pool, and I worked there for 2 years. And then when I was finished with that job for the next 20 years, I couldn't go swimming any place without watching everybody and make sure nobody was in trouble in the water. So I find that with football now. I can't watch these football games without saying, well, let's see what they're in offense. Let's see what they're doing wrong on defense. What could I have done to help them out? And so it's become a way of life for me. So I don't know when I'll work out of that football watching trend, but maybe never, probably, Steve.
What team in your mind has the most impressive defense? What's been the team this season you're most impressed with, Coach?
Well, I spent 18 years coaching in Cincinnati, and I spent 16 years coaching in Pittsburgh. So 18, 28, that's 34 years of my life. So I follow those two teams pretty close. I think Pittsburgh's defense is tremendous, but there are several I don't get. I don't do the thing where you can watch all the games. I did that for a couple of years, but I found myself running out of time to watch football games. So I spent my whole life looking at video film of football games. So I have broken that habit at least. But I think the Steelers' defenses are very, very good this year. There are several others. To me, in order to be successful, particularly in today's game, with the skill the quarterbacks have and the speed that all the skill athletes have, the wide receivers and running backs, you've got to have some pressure on the quarterback or they're going to chew you up. And when you're looking at a defense that can get off and get consistent pressure on the quarterback, that's where you're looking at the top of the league, in my opinion.
Who is a defensive player currently in the NFL that you would love to get your hands on to coach? Who impresses you a lot and you just see like, wow, I'd love to coach that guy?
Man, a lot of Pittsburgh is the guy without a doubt, because I was a linebacker guy, and we made our success out of blitzing people that you weren't expecting to be coming. So I like people like Troy Polamalu who could do anything. He could play linebacker really, but he was a safety. But you could put him on a slot wide receiver, and he'd hold his own and win most of the time there too. So he was the coach's dream. And I think that TJ, with his brother was a great defender too, and he had another brother who was a real good, solid football player, fullback. He had a great career. He played for the Steelers too, a couple other teams, I think. But I would take T.J. Watt, and I'm not sure where I'd put him. I might have to come up with a new alignment defensively because we had James Ferrier, Larry Foote, and James Harrison and Lamar Woodley with our linebackers, and I couldn't see sitting any of them down, and I definitely would not set T.J. Watt down. So he would be my number one choice.
You spent many years as the Steelers defensive coordinator, and given it's a league of parity, I have to ask you this. How surprised are you that head coach Mike Tomlin still hasn't had a losing season as a head coach, and he's been coaching since 2007?
Oh, it's definitely another book. I mean, I worked 59 consecutive years in the NFL, and I wasn't an owner, so about the only guy that can't get fired in the league really is the owners, and that even happens sometimes if the other owners get together. But I think what Mike's done is never going to be anybody come close to, and that record is worth another book for sure.
You were the head coach of the Bengals from 2000 as an interim to 2002, during a time when the organization, I guess, was really viewed as maybe frugal and unconventionally structured compared to other clubs. What was your overall experience working with owner Mike Brown and just the Bengals organization overall?
Well, as I said, I worked for the Brown family for 18 years, and they were a tremendous family to work for. You didn't really need a contract. Whatever you agreed to, it was back in the day when people still shook hands and their word was all you needed. But, of course, we had contracts. But I never had any complaints with the Bengals. Our problem was we didn't have quite a strong enough roster, and there were several areas that had to be improved. And I was one of those interim head coaches that take over in the middle of the season. And we changed to what we could change, and we're building. We had the defense. I think we were the last year that I coached there. I think we were rated 8th in the league defensively, but we never could get the combination. And when you're down roster-wise, it takes a little time. You're not going to snap your fingers, and it's a little easier today to do because the movement between team to team is a little more fluid. But I have no complaints with my career. There's ups and downs in life. And Steve, if that's one thing that football, that's why I believe that it belongs in our academic institutions, because football is a great game. It can teach you things that you can't learn out of a textbook. And you're going to get knocked down some in life. And when it happens, you have to get up and get back in the race and take care of your family. And that's something that all of us, men and women, have to endure through our lives. And we went to the Super Bowl twice in my 18 years at Cincinnati, so it wasn't all doom and gloom. But my 2 years was not particularly impressive. It taught me to really enjoy those years that I had in Pittsburgh, where we won all the time. Actually, I was there 16 years, and we almost never missed the playoffs, so that was unusual, too.
One more for you, Coach. Where do you keep your 2 Super Bowl rings? I'm curious.
Well, I have them in a safe. I don't wear them. I was a defensive back. I'm 6'1" and 100, played at about 185, and I weigh about 178 now. And the daggum rings are so big. they look a little out of place on my hand, but every now and then I'd get them out and look at them or take them to a special event. But I have, I was in 6 Super Bowls, and it was a great honor. And you get some jewelry for all of that, and we would get watches, sometimes diamond-studded watches. So somebody's going to get a nice collection of jewelry someday, so I keep them in a safe deposit box.
He is Coach Dick LeBeau, an NFL lifer, a Hall of Famer. I greatly appreciate your time, Coach. I want to give you the final word. Any last words that you'd like to comment about your book, Legendary, or anything else football-related? I want to give you the final word. Well,
it's an honor to talk about my life and my living experience, and the book was written because statistically, I think if people just Amazon's got it, you can get the book very easily. You're going to see how unique this group of men were, and the statistical numbers that they put up. I mean, there's great defenses today. Don't get me wrong, but they don't come anywhere near statistically what that bunch did. And it's always an honor and a privilege to talk about those guys. It was a labor of love, and I got it done while I was still on the planet, so I'm happy about all that, Steve. And it's always good to talk to people from Iowa. I went to Ohio State, and there's no doubt that there's great rivalry between all the Big Ten schools. So I love Iowa. I think it's great people, very similar agrarian population, man, and they're good people.